For ancient letters, no vowels, no certainty of how to say them, yet they hold the key to the God of the Bible. This is the story of the most powerful and mysterious name in human history, YHWH. In this episode, we uncover the origins, meaning, and enduring mystery of the divine name known as the Tetragrammaton YHWH, from its first appearance in the deserts of the ancient Near East, through its sacred role in Israel's worship, to its guarded secrecy in later Judaism, and its reinterpretation in Christianity. This is the journey of a name unlike any other. Archaeological inscriptions, biblical verses, and mystical traditions all testify that this name was more than just a label. It was power, presence, and identity. Join us as we trace how the letters shaped millennia of faith, fear, and fascination. Before theology, before the creeds, before the countless translations and interpretations, there was the name. 4 letters, ancient, unvoweled, almost unpronounceable. YHWH. This is the most sacred word in the Hebrew Bible, the divine name revealed to Moses at the burning bush, the name so holy that generations of scribes would refuse to write it without ritual preparation, and priests would only speak it on the holiest day of the year. Its origin is shrouded in linguistic and historical mystery. In Exodus 3:14, when Moses asks God for his name, the reply is famously enigmatic, Ahia Asher Ahia, often rendered as I am who I am, or I will be what I will be. This cryptic phrase is followed by a direct instruction. Say to the Israelites, YHWH has sent me to you. Here, the name is linked to existence itself, to being, to a divine presence that transcends time, but scholars have long debated its deeper roots. Was YHWH derived from an ancient Hebrew verb to be, marking God as the one who simply is, or does it echo older, pre-Israelite titles for deities associated with life, storm, or creation? In the oldest manuscripts, the name appears without vowels, just 4 consonants, YOD-head-WAW-he. This is why scholars call it the Tetragrammaton, the 4 letters. Ancient Hebrew was written without vowel markings, so the exact ancient pronunciation has been lost. Some reconstruct it as Yahweh, while others suggest forms like Yahweh or Yahu. The pronunciation Jehovah only emerged in the Middle Ages, when Christian scholars mistakenly combined the consonants YHWH with the vowels of Adonai, Lord. For ancient Israel, this was no ordinary word. To speak the name was to call upon the direct presence of the divine. It was considered so potent that, according to tradition, misuse could bring fatal consequences, as warned in the 10 Commandments. Over time, Jewish practice shifted to avoid speaking it altogether. In public reading of Scripture, Adonai would be said instead. In English Bibles, this tradition is preserved by rendering YHWH as Lord in all capital letters. But the power of the name wasn't just in its holiness, it was also in its intimacy. The gods of surrounding nations had titles El, Baal, Marduk, but YHWH was a personal name, a covenant name. To know it was to be in relationship. In the Psalms and Prophets, invoking YHWH is not just calling on a distant cosmic force, it's calling on a God who had chosen Israel, who acted in history, who could be petitioned, praised, or even wrestled with in prayer. And yet, There's an element of deliberate mystery. If YHWH means I am, then every utterance of the name points beyond human categories. It resists being defined, contained, or compared. It is being itself timeless, unchanging, yet active in the world. That paradox may be why the name was both central and hidden, written but not spoken, present yet veiled. Even today, debates over the pronunciation and meaning of YHWH reveal just how powerful words can be, especially when they are more than words. The Tetragrammaton is not merely a label, it is the distillation of God's identity in ancient Israelite thought, a name that was both revelation and concealment, presence and mystery, the bridge between heaven and earth written in for ancient letters. While the Hebrew Bible preserves YHWH as a sacred revelation, archaeology shows that the name was not confined to the scrolls of priests and prophets. Across the deserts of Israel, Judah, and their neighbors, ancient inscriptions carved into stone or written on pottery shards reveal YHWH's presence in daily life and sometimes in surprising company. One of the most famous examples comes from Kuntilet Adrid, a remote site in the Sinai dating to the 8th century BCE. There, a fragment of pottery bears the blessing, "I bless you by YHWH of Samaria," and his Asherah. This short line is explosive. It not only places YHWH's worship in the northern kingdom of Israel, it links him to a female divine figure, Asherah, known from Canaanite religion as the mother goddess and consort of El. Another inscription from Khirbet el-Qam in Judah repeats this pairing, YHWH and his Asherah, suggesting that early Israelite religion may not have been strictly monotheistic, but part of a complex divine family network. YHWH's name also appears beyond Israel's borders. Egyptian texts from the 14th–13th centuries BCE mention a group called the Shasu of YHW, living in the southern deserts, possibly the earliest external reference to Yahweh, long before he was Israel's national deity. These early traces hint at YHWH's origins as a regional god of the wilderness, tied to specific tribal groups, who later rose to prominence. In worship, the name was central. In the Temple of Jerusalem, the high priest would speak it aloud only once a year on Yom Kippur within the Holy of Holies. The crowd outside would fall silent, awed by the moment when the ineffable was made audible. Outside the temple, the name could appear in blessings, prayers, and even protective amulets. The famous silver scrolls from Ketef Hinnom, dating to the 7th century BC, preserve the priestly blessing from Numbers. May YHWH bless you and keep you. These tiny scrolls were worn around the neck, suggesting that the name itself was seen as a shield against harm. This belief in the name's protective and even magical power wasn't unique to Israel. In the wider ancient Near East, the names of gods were thought to carry their essence, and to speak them was to channel their force. For the Israelites, YHWH's name was not just a sound, it was a living presence. The songs proclaim, "The name of YHWH is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe." The prophets warned that to misuse it was to court disaster. Over time, as Israel's faith moved toward strict monotheism, the name became even more sacred and more hidden. By the Second Temple period, Most Jews would never pronounce YHWH at all, using Adonai in prayer, and Hashem the name in conversation. The divine power was still there, but now wrapped in layers of reverence, protecting the holiness of the name by withholding it from casual speech. In these inscriptions, blessings, and rituals, we see that YHWH's name was never a mere label, it was a force. It could bless, protect, inspire, or unmark identity. It was written on temple walls, carved into stone, whispered by priests, worn as a charm, and avoided entirely by the faithful. It was a paradox in four letters, the most sacred word in Israel's world, and one they dared not say. As the centuries passed, the name YHWH slipped from the lips of the people into the guarded vault of tradition. By the time of the Second Temple, it had become a treasure too sacred to utter except for the high priest, once a year, in the holiest space on earth. But removing the name from daily speech didn't diminish its presence, it magnified its mystery. In Judaism, this reverence became a defining mark of devotion. The rabbis taught that to misuse the name was a grave sin, a violation of the commandment not to take it in vain. Public readings of the Torah would replace YHWH with Adonai Lord, and in ordinary speech, the name was referred to simply as Hashem, the name. Yet, in the quiet holes of mystical study, the four letters still burned with meaning. In Kabbalah, the Tetragrammaton was seen as the key to creation itself, each letter a gateway to divine realities, each arrangement a path into the infinite. Mystics meditated on its shapes, sought hidden combinations, and believed that to truly know and pronounce it was to touch the eternal. Christianity inherited this tension between reverence and revelation. The earliest Greek translations of the Hebrew Bible replaced YHWH with Kyrios Lord, a title the New Testament writers would also apply to Jesus, effectively linking him with the divine name. In some Christian traditions, especially in hymns and prayers, the pronunciation Jehovah emerged during the Middle Ages, though scholars now agree this form was a linguistic accident. In more recent centuries, the revival of the form Yahweh in biblical scholarship has sought to recover a sound closer to the ancient pronunciation, though no one can be certain. Islam does not preserve the name YHWH as such, but the Quran contains the 99 names of Allah, each reflecting an aspect of divine nature, echoing the ancient belief that to name God is to encounter His power. The Jewish tradition of reverence for the name likely influenced early Islamic attitudes toward divine speech and sacred words. Across all three Abrahamic faiths, the legacy of the Tetragrammaton is paradoxical. It is both hidden and revealed, avoided and sought after. In synagogues, it is written but not spoken. In churches, it is often translated away, replaced with Lord. In mystical texts, it is the cosmic formula for creation. And in everyday life, it lingers as an unspoken reminder that some realities are too vast for the human tongue. The mystery of YHWH's name is more than a question of ancient linguistics. It is about the limits of human approach to the divine. To know God's name is to enter into covenant. To guard it is to acknowledge His holiness. The four letters that once echoed in the temple now echo in the minds of believers across millennia, still sparking debates, prayers, and awe. The name remains what it always was in the days of Moses, both a revelation and a riddle, calling the faithful into a relationship with the one who is, who was, and who will be. The name YHWH is more than an artifact of ancient religion. It is a living thread, running through Jewish, Christian, and even Islamic tradition. Its mystery has inspired worshippers, scholars, and mystics for over 3,000 years. Whether spoken aloud or left in reverent silence, it remains a reminder that the divine is both near and ungraspable. If this exploration deepened your understanding of the God behind the name, remember to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. More ancient secrets are waiting to be uncovered.